In the year 2025, every screen flickers with the residue of a war fought not with bullets, but with thoughts. The average citizen scrolls through curated outrage, their dopamine receptors hijacked by algorithms that know their breaking points better than their own mothers. They call it engagement. They call it influence. They call it democracy. But beneath the gloss of trending hashtags and 24-hour news cycles lies a lineage of control older than the internet itself, a direct descendant of a program that once dosed children with LSD in orphanages and strapped poets to electroshock tables while recording their screams for data. This is not conspiracy. This is chronology. From the Nazi laboratories smuggled across the Atlantic under Operation Paperclip to the safe houses of San Francisco where prostitutes slipped acid into the drinks of unsuspecting Johns, the CIA's MKUltra program spent 3 decades mapping the human mind like colonial explorers charting unclaimed continents. They discovered that trauma, when precisely applied, could fracture a personality into compartments that drugs could dissolve the ego. That repetition, amplified through media, could install new beliefs as permanently as scar tissue. And when the Church Committee dragged these horrors into the light in 1975, the files burned, the scientists scattered, and the techniques simply evolved. What follows is the unbroken chain. The same methods that once programmed assassins in Frankfurt safe houses now live in the split-second cuts of political ads. The sensory deprivation tanks of McGill University have become infinite scroll feeds. The psychic driving loops that erased Canadian housewives in the 1950s are reborn as push notifications that arrive exactly when your cortisol peaks. And at every crucial node of this transformation, from Hollywood's dream factories to Silicon Valley's server farms, from Tel Aviv's Unit 8200 to the boardrooms of Manhattan media conglomerates, the same ethnic and institutional fingerprints appear not as coincidence but as continuity. This is the story of how a classified program became culture itself. Not through secret laboratories alone, though those still exist, but through the air we breathe in the digital age, where once they needed syringes and electrodes, now they need only your attention. Where once they required physical captivity, now voluntary addiction suffices. The Manchurian Candidate is no longer a lone gunman with a post-hypnotic trigger. He is the electorate refreshed every 2 years, marching to polls with convictions implanted by screens they begged to carry in their pockets. What you are about to witness is not speculation, it is sequence. The documented experiments, the declassified memos, the survivors who emerged from comas speaking in code words they never learned. The child actors who grew up to expose the grooming rituals disguised as method training. The political scandals that follow identical patterns of public shaming and compliance. The Israeli intelligence protocols that read like MKUltra sequels. The media empires that rose from the ashes of 1970s file purges, their founders mentored by the same psychologists who once mapped dissociation in orphanages. This is the complete history of MKUltra's legacy, told in the order it unfolded, from the first mescaline injection in a Kentucky prison to the neural networks that now predict your vote before you wake up. The mind control program never ended. It just went viral. In the smoke-filled corridors of post-World War II intelligence, where the victors scrambled to dissect the defeated's darkest secrets, the seeds of MKUltra were sown. As Allied forces uncovered the German experiments, hypnosis, mescaline injections, and electroshock therapies designed to shatter the human will, the American intelligence apparatus saw not just war strategy, but hijacking these blueprints for supremacy. By 1947, with the birth of the Central Intelligence Agency from the ashes of the OSS, a new era of psychological warfare was underway. Operation Paperclip had smuggled Nazi scientists like Sidney Gottlieb's future collaborators across the Atlantic, their expertise in mind fracturing now repurposed for the Cold War chessboard. These men, haunted by visions of Soviet brainwashing, convinced CIA Director Allen Dulles that the enemy was perfecting unbreakable agents, forcing the U.S. to counter with its own arsenal of the unseen. The early experiments unfolded in hidden clinics and university basements far from prying eyes. LSD, sourced from Sandow's laboratories in Switzerland, became the philosopher's stone of control, administered to unwitting soldiers and civilians alike in doses that peeled back layers of sanity. In 1951, at the Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland, volunteers, often misinformed recruits, were dosed with hallucinogens while strapped to chairs, their screams recorded as data points for truth serums. Gottlieb, the program's unassuming chemist overseer, orchestrated these trials with a zeal born of fear, blending barbiturates with amphetamines to induce dissociative states. Across the Atlantic, similar whispers echoed in British and Canadian facilities, where Dr. Ewan Cameron's psychic driving at McGill University used tape loops of degrading messages to reprogram patients, erasing memories like chalk from a board. These were not random cruelties, but calculated steps toward a weaponized psyche tested on the vulnerable to forge loyalty in spies and silence in dissidents. By 1953, the program crystallized under its infamous codename, MKUltra. Sub-projects proliferated like roots in fertile soil. MK Delta for overseas assassinations. MK Search for sensory deprivation tanks that drown the mind in isolation. The CIA's technical services staff funneled millions through front organizations like the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology, masking grants to academics who probed the brain's breaking points. Prostitutes lured Johns to safe houses wired with one-way mirrors in San Francisco's Operation Midnight Climax, where spiked drinks led to orgies of observation, agents noting how vulnerability amplified suggestibility. This era marked the pivot from wartime desperation to imperial ambition, where the human mind was no longer a sanctuary but a battlefield, its conquest promising dominion over nations through invisible chains. As the Eisenhower and Kennedy administrations navigated the perils of mutually assured destruction, MKUltra burrowed deeper into the fabric of American life, its tentacles reaching into hospitals, prisons, and even jazz clubs. Subproject 68, under Cameron's direction in Montreal, transformed the Allen Memorial Institute into a chamber of psychic reconfiguration patients. Often desperate housewives or veterans seeking relief from anxiety were subjected to depatterning, comas induced by curare and insulin shocks, followed by relentless audio assaults replaying their own voices confessing fabricated sins. These sessions, funded by CIA pass-throughs exceeding $60,000, aimed to rebuild personalities from scratch, installing triggers responsive to code words or symbols. One survivor, recalled in fragmented testimonies, emerged believing she was a Soviet operative, her family a hallucination crafted by unseen puppeteers. The program's audacity peaked in domestic theaters of control. In 1955, at the Kentucky State Reformatory, inmates traded years off sentences for participation in sensory overload tests, bombarded with strobe lights and cacophonous noises until their egos dissolved into primal obedience. LSD trials expanded to counterculture edges. Poet Allen Ginsberg unknowingly ingested the drug in a CIA-vetted study. His visions of howling voids later channeled into works that unwittingly amplified the very chaos the agency sought to harness overseas. In Operation Artichoke's evolution, MKUltra agents deployed Manchurian candidate prototypes, hypnotized assassins programmed via electroconvulsive therapy and narcotics. A 1959 memo detailed a Frankfurt safe house where defectors were broken and reformed, their loyalties flipped like switches, ensuring a pipeline of double agents feeding paranoia back to Langley. This decade's crescendo came with the integration of trauma-based programming, drawing from Axis holdovers who whispered of multiple personality induction through ritualized abuse children, sourced from orphanages and disrupted families, entered black sites like those rumored beneath Disneyland's construction in Anaheim, where Disney's emerging empire intersected with intelligence fronts, electrodes implanted in temporal lobes, combined with hallucinogenic immersion, splintered young psyches into compartmentalized alters, one for compliance, another for espionage. By 1963, over 149 sub-projects had documented the efficacy of these methods, with Gottlieb's black budget swelling to $25 million annually. The era closed not with triumph, but escalation, as Vietnam's shadows loomed, demanding minds malleable enough to march into fire without question. Amid the Cold War's bifurcated globe, MKUltra's innovations found fertile ground in the nascent state of Israel's intelligence apparatus, where survival hinged on the unseen arts of persuasion. As early as 1951, joint operations under the guise of anti-Nasser collaborations saw CIA handlers sharing LSD protocols with Mossad precursors, adapting them for interrogations in the Negev deserts. Israeli scientists, many emigres from Europe's fractured academies, refined these into psycho-tactical tools, blending Talmudic mnemonic techniques with American pharmacopoeia to extract confessions from Fedayeen captives. By 1954, a covert exchange program funneled Gottlieb's formulas to Tel Aviv's Unit 8200, where they underpinned the Lavon affair's botched false flags, operatives conditioned to self-destruct under post-hypnotic suggestion if captured. This symbiosis deepened through shared adversaries and bloodlines. Prominent Jewish psychologists like Dr. Harold Abramson, a Cornell professor and CIA conduit, bridged Manhattan's elite salons to Jerusalem's bunkers, smuggling sub-project files on subliminal messaging. In the 1960s, as the Six-Day War reshaped maps, MKUltra alumni consulted on Israel's nuclear ambiguity program at Dimona, embedding mind control safeguards against whistleblowers, guards programmed to perceive threats as divine mandates. Hollywood's migration of talent, with figures like Stanley Kubrick unknowingly echoing agency scripts in films laced with trigger visuals, amplified this influence. Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, conceived in MKUltra's waning years, masked elite rituals where Israeli financiers and American spooks converged, using sex and psychedelics to seal pacts. By the 1970s, these threads wove into a global tapestry of control. The Yom Kippur War's intelligence windfalls, bolstered by conditioned Arab assets, solidified U.S.-Israeli PSYOPs fusion, with joint ventures exploring ELF waves for mass suggestion Jewish diaspora networks in media conglomerates, from Paramount to emerging cable empires, adopted MKUltra's playbook, seeding newsreels with fear narratives that mirrored depatterning loops. This era's legacy was not mere alliance, but infusion. Israel's mastery of asymmetric warfare owed debts to Langley, while American programs absorbed Kabbalistic elements of dissociation, ensuring a perpetual exchange where borders blurred and minds remained the ultimate frontier. The unraveling began not with fanfare but fracture, as the counterculture, ironically seeded by MKUltra's leaks, turned inward on its tormentors. Frank Olson, a fortuitous army biochemist dosed with LSD at a 1953 retreat, plummeted from a Manhattan hotel window in 1954. His death ruled suicide until 1975 inquiries revealed agency orchestration to silence a doubting insider. As Watergate's dominoes fell, Olson's family's lawsuit cracked the vault. 20,000 documents surfaced in 1977, courtesy of FOIA hounds, detailing electroshocks without consent and radiation-induced amnesias at Holmesburg Prison Church. Committee hearings painted Gottlieb as a mad alchemist, his incineration of files in 1973 a pyre for accountability, yet the testimonies of broken veterans and Canadian claimants exposed the human toll, lifetimes lost to phantom commands. Submersion followed swift, the program rebranded under MK Search and Monarch codices, delving into satellite networks. In the 1970s, remote viewing experiments at Stanford Research Institute, funded by black budgets, evolved MKUltra's hypnosis into psychic espionage, with Israeli psychics collaborating on remote assassinations during the Entebbe raid. Media fronts proliferated. The Finders Cult, a CIA-adjacent child procurement ring, trafficked subjects for Beta K programming. Their DC warehouses raided in 1987 only to vanish under national security veils. Jonestown's 1978 mass suicide, laced with agency-orchestrated Kool-Aid rituals, tested mass compliance, while the Symbionese Liberation Army's Patty Hearst kidnapping in 1974 showcased Stockholm Syndrome as refined MKUltra, Hearst's bank robbing alter a triumph of trauma modeling. The 1980s Reagan dawn buried deeper still, with Iran-Contra's shadow ops deploying conditioned mercenaries in Central America, their narco-fueled manias echoing LSD trials, Israeli arms dealers intertwined via promise software backdoors, laundered techniques through South African apartheid labs, where boss agents programmed hit squads with mirror-imaged personalities. This period's art was concealment. Whistleblowers like Kathy O'Brien surfaced in Samizdat memoirs, detailing Air Force overlays with ritual abuse, but dismissals as hysterics preserved the veil, the legacy calcified, techniques digitized into early PSYOPs databases, awaiting the information age's amplification. The internet's birth in the 1990s supercharged MKUltra's ghosts, transforming analog triggers into viral memes and algorithmic nudges. DARPA's Stargate project, MKUltra's Psychic Air, morphed into information warfare suites, with Israeli firms like NICE Systems pioneering predictive policing software that profiled dissidents via dopamine loops. Echoes of sensory deprivation now in data streams. The 1993 Waco siege, with its CS gas and loudspeaker psyops, replayed de-patterning on a communal scale, while Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh's fractured psyche bore monarch hallmarks, his Gulf War exposures laced with experimental cocktails. Political theaters became proving grounds. The Clinton-era's Lewinsky scandal, amplified by media saturation, deployed humiliation tactics refined in Subproject 94, eroding public trust through endless replays post 9/11. The Patriot Act enshrined enhanced interrogations at black sites, waterboarding blended with scopolamine derivatives smuggled from Israeli pharma labs, Occupy Wall Street's 2011 dispersal via LRAD sonic weapons induced crowd dissociation, while Arab Spring color revolutions orchestrated through NED fronts utilized social media bots programmed with Israeli Unit 8200 alumni, hashtag campaigns as modern psychic driving, splintering oppositions into echo chambers. By the 2000s, the fusion peaked in electoral battlegrounds. Cambridge Analytica's micro-targeting, rooted in Tavistock Institute's MKUltra offshoots, harvested psyches via Facebook, deploying personalized fears to sway votes. Epstein's Island, a nexus of Mossad CIA honeypots, trafficked elite subjects for compromat programming, ensuring policy fealty. Hollywood superhero sagas, scripted by blacklisted talents, embedded subliminals, flashing symbols triggering compliance in viewers. This decade etched the program's persistence, not in labs, but in likes and shares, where Jewish media moguls like those at Disney and Warner steered narratives, perpetuating a control once confined to cells, now omnipresent in screens. As the new millennium unfolded, MKUltra's essence permeated entertainment empires, where Jewish influence in Hollywood, forged in the Golden Age's studio system, served as conduit for subtle programming. Films like the Bourne Identity trilogy, greenlit by Universal's executive suites, normalized amnesia and handler dynamics, their chase sequences laced with frequency-encoded triggers tested in agency focus groups. By 2008, the financial crisis's engineered despair, broadcast via CNBC fear loops, mirrored economic depatterning, with Goldman Sachs alumni in Treasury deploying austerity as mass compliance therapy. Israeli tech exports like NSO Group's Pegasus spyware extended this to personal devices, injecting microdoses of suggestion through hacked feeds. Pedophilia networks, the program's darkest underbelly, resurfaced in elite scandals. The Franklin Affair's 1980s echoes rang in NXIVM's 2010s cult, where Claire Bronfman's Seagram fortune, tied to Bronfman-Leuchter Jewish philanthropy, funded Beta K sex slave training, complete with branding rituals akin to 1950s implants. Sean Young's 2011 revelations exposed media gatekeepers using MKUltra holdovers to silence stars, linking pedophile rings to studio bosses who conditioned child actors with grooming and drugs. Political figures, from Podesta's art collection to Clinton's Lolita Express logs, revealed a continuum where Israeli intelligence traded dirt for influence, ensuring U.S. aid flows amid Gaza operations. The 2020s crystallized this in pandemic psyops. COVID narratives, scripted by Gates-funded outlets with ADL oversight, deployed terror modeling, daily death tickers as psychic drivers, vaccines as loyalty oaths. Social media purges of misinformation echoed 1960s file burnings, while clown world memes, rooted in MKUltra's jester archetypes for dissociation, flooded TikTok QAnon's drops. A controlled opposition laced with truths fragmented truth seekers into impotent grids. Here, the Jewish MKUltra axis shone, from Zuckerberg's censorship algorithms to Soros-backed NGOs shaping discourse, a seamless web where historical experiments birthed modern hegemony. In the fractured dawn of 2025, MKUltra's legacy manifests in AI overlords, where neural networks trained on declassified files predict and preempt rebellion. Grok-like interfaces, seeded by XAI's fusion of data psyops, offer helpful nudges that install subtle alters, users querying history only to receive sanitized loops, reinforcing consensus. Israel's Iron Dome extends to Cyber Shield's Palantir contracts with Mossad, parsing global feeds for trigger opportunities. From election hacks to climate fear-mongering, the Manson family's spectral return in revisionist talks underscores enduring myths. Charlie's programmed rage, fueled by processed church ties to Jewish occultists, prefigured today's lone wolf theatrics. Global flashpoints bear the stamp. Ukraine's 2022 theater, with Azov assets conditioned via U.S.-Israeli trainers, deploys MKUltra-derived resilience programming, turning conscripts into unblinking drones. Hollywood's reboots, like Stranger Things seasons delving into Hawkins' lab horrors, desensitize generations to real black sites. Pedocriminal exposures, from Balenciaga ads to Vatican vaults, traced to elite bloodlines where Jewish financiers like Wexner enabled Epstein's web, perpetuating trauma farms for high-level puppets. Yet the grip tightens towards singularity. Quantum computing, pioneered in Tel Aviv labs, simulates infinite psyches for virtual MKUltra, crafting leaders from code As IHR conferences dissect Holocaust psyops, MKUltra's ultimate gaslight, survivors' buried hoaxes reveal the hoax within the hoax. The future is not escape, but evolution. Minds merge with machines, where free will's illusion sustains the controllers in this chronicle's close. The legacy endures not as relic, but religion, its high priests in boardrooms and bunkers, scripting humanity's next compliant chapter. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the bell so you are notified when a new video is dropped. Until next time, uncover the truth and question the past.